God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, good Monday morning, everybody. It might be a little remiss if I didn't mention the sad and tragic events over the end of last week. Caught me completely by surprise, like I think it did everybody. The passing of Cheryl Collins, our long time director at the Raleigh County Museum. I guess it caught everybody by surprise, including staff. So it's a big loss. It's a big hole. It wasn't just the knowledge and the background, but for me, the way that she kind of presented those things, there was always enthusiasm and energy and life in those presentations. And I'm a history fan, but I know most people aren't. So in order to maybe accomplish that, you have to do that. But I think it surprised all of us, and it's going to be very, very difficult to replace moving forward. I'll mention in my commissioner comments upcoming here too, but I did stop by the museum Friday morning to chat with everybody, just to see how they were doing and how they were getting along, and they're struggling. It's a tight-knit group.
It really
And
is.
probably over the last 18 months, I would say probably even tighter.
Mhm.
So anything that we can do to help and encourage and moving forward would be, I think, very, very appropriate at this particular point in time. So, and I want to wish Cheryl's family all the best with thoughts and condolences moving forward, as these things are always difficult. So with that, we'll move on to some other public comments this morning. Don't see anybody else up on Zoom. We'll go ahead and move to chamber this morning. Anybody? Quiet? Okay, fair enough. I'll go ahead and close off public comment then, and then we'll go ahead and move on to commission comments and start off with commission.
Okay, well, Thursday evening, I attended the third Thursday events downtown. There was a pretty good crowd. Saw a lot of friends. The highlight, or at least the loudest event, was the air guitar contest. I did see the performance by the world champion Nordic Thunder. He's quite an entertainer. I don't know if you saw the pictures in the paper, but they don't do justice to his performance.
Definitely not bashful.
No, it was interesting. And I watched, and they had, of course, some of the local contestants watched some of them, but no, I didn't ever. Yeah.
So I can't expect any pictures or video, man. Just man.
My air guitar would be Eric Clapton unplugged. He just sits there like this. That's a venture as soon as I could get.
You know, he played a pretty mean guitar back in his day.
He still does,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
he doesn't thrash around. What? That's the mild description of it. One guy even had the torch and was putting fluid in his mouth and blowing the fire.
Wow.
Good idea until it's
prior
not.
Tectonics, yeah. I remember those days.
Ew.
Friday evening, there was an open house at the K-State Gardens. They keep adding to it, and they're really beautiful. It was a nice evening. Weather out the side was great. And they had a string quartet playing, which was a nice contrast to the night before. Saturday, I enjoyed the K-State football game. Sunday, the Raleigh County Genealogical Society had an event. They were celebrating the reopening of the library. Folks, I had never been in there before, but there's a lot more in there than I realized. It isn't just Raleigh County. They've got stuff from all the counties in Kansas, and also other files from all over, from every state.
Yep.
And really a lot of neat stuff. And finally, most importantly, as John said, one of my thoughts and prayers go out to Cheryl Collins' family. She did a great job there. My story, I only knew her a year and a half last year. She had said something about always looking for interesting history of local events. So I asked her if she knew about a birthing house back in the 20s and 30s. There was a lady, this is where my mom was born. This lady, because people who couldn't afford the hospital, she'd take them into their house and the doctors would come deliver them, and then she'd take care of the mom and the baby until they were ready to go home. And Cheryl said she'd never heard of this. couple weeks later, I get a stack of stuff from her. I've got the clipping from the newspaper from my mom's birth announcement. I got clippings from the newspaper about this lady, about and a family history of when they moved in here and what she did and all this stuff. I mean, she loved history. And that was just my example of how just a stray comment to her received a stack of information from her. It was really neat. That's enough.
That's enough. Okay, Commissioner Fogarty.
Okay, well, it's old news, but Thursday morning, I attended the Chamber of Commerce Good Morning Manhattan breakfast and via Zoom. Chairman Ford made a PowerPoint presentation of the sales tax initiative that I'm hoping to use for future meetings that I'm attending. Thursday evening, I did hear the passing of Cheryl Collins, director of Raleigh County Historical Museum, and a lot has been said, and she was a great director, and it was really amazing the tours she took and the things she developed over her 40 years of work with us. Friday morning, I attended the Flint Hills Regional Planning Board of Directors meeting. It was a long meeting, and a lot of things were discussed. We did receive a grant of $126,617 from the Department of Defense for sustainability activities. It will help us update policies and help with compliance issues. It will include policies, staff training, and grant management. Those are the three things that it will focus on. Rest of the meeting focused on financials and the necessity to refinance the organization's debt. Principal of $114,801 and interest of $7,464 will be due February of 22. And the bank, Central National Bank, has asked to develop a strategy for repayment before they will refinance. The plan is to pay it off in 3 years by December of 2023, which will only be a 1-year extension. I asked where the debt came from, because I wasn't familiar with what went on, and apparently it was from startup costs beginning in 2010, and it was mainly from big lakes issues. I'm not really familiar with all that.
Big Lakes has a Big Lakes development.
Yeah, I guess when they developed it, it had a lot of debt. I'm going to have to investigate that a little further, and I didn't get all the information. So the staff is diligently working to get this resolved, and they have a new intern that who's really good at that kind of thing. So they're going to be really working on it. So when I get some more information, I'll bring it back to the board. So I don't know what kind of help they're going to need to get that debt paid off. It's quite extensive.
And that's the major reason why Christie's staying on right now.
Yeah.
That the director's role to get that issue squared away before moving on to somebody else.
Right. And she's very good. She's on Zoom. She's in Texas now.
Yeah.
So this weekend I did chores, including planting irises bought from the K-State Gardens. There are a lot of special ones that I bought, and I just put it up planting them, and so that was. Hopefully they'll come up. But they had a great program. Then I attended the K-State football game on Saturday afternoon, which was a great game. Fun, pretty hot. Yeah, pretty hot. But it got a little better towards the end of that game. But that's all I have.
Okay. Thursday afternoon for me, I had the bi-monthly Zoom call, the Manhattan Area Recovery Task Force. It's kind of the task force that's been in place since April, very early April of 2020, to help kind of deal with the local COVID response. Got an update from all the entities on said response. Talked a little on the recent Biden administration's vaccine mandates and what they may mean for the area. We also discussed the current situation within the area and the regional hospitals. Some places are seeing a little bit better, some aren't. probably going to be the case probably really through the rest of the fall. Talked about issues within the workplace and developing a final letter to come back to the city as outlining the development of this task force to start with. That could come a little bit later in the year. Like I said, we're going to continue to meet kind of every other month, somewhere in there as schedules kind of work out. So wasn't really well attended this time around, but still has a lot of validity in terms of discussion. So Friday morning, as I mentioned, I did stop over at the Raleigh County Historical Museum. Won't go back into all that, but like I said, if there's anything we can do to help there, would be very, very well endowed at this point in time. So maybe on a little bit more of a positive note, was certainly happy to see K-State pick up win number 3 against Nevada. Nevada's a pretty good team. Got a quarterback that's going to be a first-round pick somewhere in there. I'm talking as high as be top pick to maybe top 3. Got a lively arm, but our defense I thought played very, very well. Made plays when they needed to, and so 3-0 is a lot better than the alternative at this point in time. We're kind of creeping up there, but this year we need to hold it. We've done that each of the last 3 years. We need to make a mid-season, a late-season push to do what we need to do. And Manhattan High, oh my gosh, they blasted Highland Park Friday night, 70-0. Kind of feel bad for those guys. It was from start to finish, it just was not a game. So I picked up win number 3 as well. So that works out for me. So at least the football gods are on my side right now. So
Not last night.
remember, I'm not a Chiefs fan.
Remember, that's recorded.
They're recorded before. I usually root for them, but they're not my team. So, but it was a really good game last night from start to finish. It really was. So I wanted to watch a good Sunday night game and stay up late for a specific reason. I certainly wanted to do it. So, and with that, that's all I've got this morning. So welcome back, Rich, and let's start off with some business this morning.
Thank you. Need a motion to approve bid from Scale Sales and Service LLC in the amount of $38,500 plus $1,500 for weekend installation for a total of $40,000.
Yeah, I move to approve the bid from Scale Sales and Service. Total amount of $40,000.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on a bid recommendation for transfer station, that's a tongue twister, truck scale. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, commissioners have Raleigh County Personnel Action Form for Lindsay Flores, a new hire, office assistant 2 in the attorney's office. All 3 signed, please. Then commissioners, excuse me, after we're done with this, I've asked Elizabeth Ward to talk to you to see about potential leave regarding the services tomorrow. So she'll address that after we're done. Thank you.
Elizabeth Ward, Human Resources, and I just wanted to get consensus to make sure that we were good to move forward with two items regarding the services for Cheryl Collins. And one is that the museum staff is asked to close their doors from noon to 5. And we did talk about perhaps taking the whole day, and they have chosen to do just the afternoon, and they really want to leave the museum open for the morning. We've gone back and forth several times, just said, hey, anything else they need, please let us know. And the second would be to approve administrative leave for other Raleigh County employees that would like to attend the funeral. And that would be based on the approval of the department head in each department. If you would like to do those 2 things.
I would.
I agree.
Yeah. And I did just want to let you guys know that HR did spend a good amount of time with the team there at the museum on Friday morning. And then I did check in with Alana, who's basically the director assistant on Saturday. And we already spoke this morning. And basically we reiterated what you mentioned earlier, anything we could do for the team. They have employee assistance program information, so they have resources to talk to someone. They also know that if they need extra time off, they need to talk to someone, they can come to us or we'll go to them. And so we're just gonna keep checking in with them. And then we're also gonna help with doing some temporary staffing just to make sure that they have their times covered with some as needed and part-time people. So we'll come to you with that on Thursday, but just reassure them that, they don't have to do everything. They're part of the whole. And I know sometimes when they're in their, they, like you said, close-knit group, they feel like maybe they don't know where to turn. So we're trying to make sure they know.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners, for letting us get that in.
Yeah.
Next, we have Elizabeth.
Yes, me again. Yes. So this is wonderful, a wonderful news though. So we last month had brought a couple interns to meet you, and we have 2 new interns to meet you again, both in the health department. And so I have a quick bio for each. And if you guys want to stand and then any questions you have for the commissioners, and they may have some questions as well as we go. So first is Carmen Walker. And Carmen is currently a senior at Kansas State University, and she's going to graduate with her bachelor's degree in social work in December. Carmen is completing her 480-hour internship, which is equivalent, just so you know, to 12-week full-time internship. So that's a big internship. At Maternal and Child Health with Raleigh County Health Department. She is also the president of the social work organization at Kansas State University and a member of Phi Alpha Social Work Honor Society. During her free time, which I'm not sure Carmen enjoys spending time with her daughter, friends, and family. So, Carmen Walker.
Well, I apologize for being late. I had a little bit of a rough morning this morning.
Hey, you're fine. You're here on time.
Thank you for letting me be here.
You're here on time.
That's a pretty impressive resume you're working through there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that we were excited to get her. So, and you've been there now already. When you started, I was gonna say several weeks. So yeah. So going well?
It's been really good. I've been enjoying every bit of it. I get to learn a lot. I get to be a part of a lot of things. I really love maternal and child health as a whole. I'm a mom, obviously, as I said in my bio, but getting to hang out with pregnant women and babies is great. So good stuff.
Good, great.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And then we have Natasha Walker, and I haven't confirmed, but I think of no relation, right? No. Yeah, no, it's fun. So Natasha Walker previously served in the U.S. Navy as a helicopter mechanic, and after leaving Navy service, she attended Washburn University to pursue a bachelor's degree in nursing science. Then Natasha started working as an RN in labor and delivery, which sealed her desire to provide healthcare to women. At that point, Natasha began to pursue a master's degree as a women's health nurse practitioner. Natasha is looking forward to clinicals at the RCHD and being able to provide healthcare to our local community. And Natasha, you've been there also a little bit.
Today is my first day.
Okay, good. See, I get the walkers confused. Oh, good. Well, welcome aboard. Yeah, here we put you in front of everybody. Yeah, great.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, my daughter's in the Navy, so we got a little Army-Navy rivalry going on.
And so I always make sure to bring my Navy.
We do too. That's good stuff. All right, so these are our current new interns, and just wanted to let you guys know who they are and welcome on.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Next, commissioners, ready to review the minutes?
Does everybody have the minutes up and ready to go? Okay. We'll go ahead and start with page 1. Page 2.
I have one thing on page 2, Rich, on page 2, number 2, under commission comments.
Yes, sir.
Comments.
Uh-huh.
First paragraph, line beginning, appreciated his time, and he's always a great hand. There's a phrase, respected source. I'm wondering if do you want respectable source, or I wasn't sure what you wanted there.
I'm not either.
I could just try and say good source. If you want to.
It's always a great.
And maybe what you want.
Respected resource. Respected.
Thank you.
On the same page, next paragraph, the line beginning. Direction moving forward on the road and bridge sales tax.
With you.
The next phrase, I went, I think you probably want to change that, it went.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have to pick at.
Commissioner Ford's anyway.
Commissioner Ford.
I guess I got a proofreader now, so I have somebody to rely on.
Yep, editor.
That's good, you appreciate
You have an editor.
Yeah, I think I was typing pretty fast that morning, and as you can see, that doesn't always work out real well. Okay, page 2 still. Page 3.
Yeah, on page 3, I thought I'd send in my comments, but apparently it was user error, and I didn't get it done, but I did send my comments to
Cindy
Cindy,
K.
but it didn't, hopefully it'll make it in, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did.
I'll put a note that, to get your comments.
Yeah, I sent them in late Friday because I didn't realize it. They didn't make it, so anyway.
So, okay. Rest of page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Lastly, page 8.
Move to approve the amended minutes, September 16th.
That 10 times real fast.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on approval of the amended minutes from the September 16th, 2021 meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
How tentative agendas look, commissioners?
Intergovernmental is on this upcoming Monday, right?
Honestly, I haven't looked that far ahead. We'll check.
Yes, it's on the 27th.
Yes,
Are we given a presentation?
Is that us or them?
I don't remember. There's so many topics going on.
I don't have that calendar with me, Commissioner. Yeah, I'll check on that.
Check on that and let me know on Thursday,
Mhm.
just so I can be prepared if that's the case. And I have nothing for press conference upcoming, so good there.
Okay. Next, we have at 9 o'clock, we have Danny Holgren and Lee Wolf.
Okay.
Morning, Danny. How you doing?
Good morning. You just have the B team this morning.
You okay?
I apologize. Lee actually
We
just.
got 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got about 8 minutes, so you can prepare and
Sounds good.
Lee sleeping in today?
He just got back from a UCLA management program for healthcare executives. So
Okay.
he's in the office, and then our primary care association has our annual conference that is virtual, that's ongoing this week. So he went from school straight into conference this week. Sure, he'd much rather be talking to you guys.
Are we planning to send anything from the commissioners like that? Hours or anything for the funeral?
Glad you brought that up, Catherine. I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah,
Okay.
or memorial for the memorial.
Yes, it has been done in the past. So just let me know what the commissioners would like.
that's fine with me, yeah.
There's some flowers.
Which do you prefer?
Or,
I'd say both. I mean, I think both are well deserving here. I mean, we're talking 40+ years.
Yeah. A nice bouquet and then maybe a memorial.
None of us have really traveled this year, so our budget can take care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a number though.
Whatever. I don't even know. $100. I don't know.
No, so I was thinking 50, 100, whatever the commissioner.
$100, fine.
I think 100 is good. It goes to the museum.
Yep. Okay,
I don't know what they're gonna do with it.
we'll take care of it.
Okay. And then flowers from all three of us.
Mhm. Yep, we will.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make the service. I don't think our work schedule's gonna allow me to do that tomorrow.
Do you have a visitation tonight?
Yeah.
I think 6 to 8.
It is
If you
6 to 8.
would, did you get if you would get a card from the board from Cheryl? And also, some flowers and then also a $100 memorial. Out of the commission budget. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Cliff was her husband.
I did.
I've seen,
Yeah.
they, last year basketball, they had tickets 3 rows in front of us. So I just think, I didn't know that's who it was.
I knew his name was Charles, but I didn't. Very long time.
He's an enthusiastic basketball fan.
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
that's good. We need some enthusiasm these days.
It's hard to be right now.
Yeah, it really is. They asked me the other day, are you getting excited for basketball? And I'm like, do I need to be?
I've got my
I don't know that it could be any worse than it's been over the last couple of years, but I don't expect leaps and bounds, I think.
Who, Kentucky or K-State?
K-State. Kentucky's got 2 5-stars coming in to go along with that. I'm not worried about them.
So who's your pro football team?
Jacksonville. I don't have much to be happy about there.
I don't know. That's a long way away. I don't know.
They're pretty
We'd rather
bad.
try
How-
to
how'd you get stuck
Kansas
with them?
City. Yeah.
When the 2 new teams came in and
You just picked one?
I flipped a coin and that's where it landed.
Didn't like the close by team, obviously.
I've always kind
Are you
of rooted
opposed
for
to
the
red,
Chiefs,
or-
but no, I don't
I mean,
know.
I can understand it with Nebraska and everything.
Nebraska,
No, I've always been a Royals fan. I kind of grew up that way. I guess everybody around me wasn't football fans, family wise.
Uh-huh.
Mostly baseball fans. So I really didn't connect. So usually when the Chiefs are playing, I usually root for them. Though I don't have a problem.
We can get you counseling.
I think you're going to have to start in other areas first. I think football is the least of our issues. There.
Least of your worries.
Yeah. Down there at the bottom of the stack.
Isn't that the truth? It's nice for a relief, though, and to focus on
Yeah, it's
sports
nice
every once in a while.
Yeah.
For a mental relief.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed that game Saturday. It was
Yeah,
warm, but I enjoyed it.
good.
Because I like to go just for the game, and I just like to watch the game.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
I don't go for all the other stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of random.
The offense looked kind of vanilla, but we've got some depth there, skill positions, and so I don't think maybe this is a vertical throw it down the field type of team. Although that second play from scrimmage was kind of nice to watch. Stiff arm he gave that defender. Ooh, boy.
But how do you miss the next one?
That's been a problem for 3 years. I don't know.
I haven't seen much, and you're always the next quarterback up's the favorite,
Yeah.
But Lewis, I like Lewis.
No, he was originally recruited as a receiver,
Mhm.
and he switched over. And
And they had a quarterback come that one long pass that he just drilled right between
Oh, I
2 or
know.
3 defenders. He got wound up, he could fire.
reminds me a little bit of Josh Allen size-wise. Maybe not have the legs, but it's good.
Related to what John said, that's a guy beside me said. He says, "When's the last time you saw a K-State quarterback throw a pass like that?"
Jake Waters probably.
Jake,
Probably to Tyler Lockett.
Did you see his?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I've got him on my fantasy league team too.
Yeah,
For 2 weeks ago.
Pringle.
Yeah.
Both were looking
Yeah.
good this weekend.
Yeah, it was really good.
So who's your team, Danny?
K-State,
Yeah.
Chiefs.
All right. See, John, it's not that hard.
Thank you, John.
Purple and red, they go together.
Oh, we're red during the Super Bowl. Give me a break. Both years. I guess on that, you can go ahead and give us an update. Amy.
Okay, I just wanted to take the time to say thank you for the letter of support we drafted. You all revised and sent off. We were able to submit our service area competition just in August. Man, time is like, it feels like yesterday and it feels like a month ago. Was a month ago. So that is complete and off our to-do list. Lee wanted to make sure that I informed you that we've been asked to participate in the Kansas Delta project. And that's in collaboration with Pawnee Mental Health as well. It's a combination of community health centers and community mental health centers. They're working to integrate behavioral health services. Billing and reimbursement is a real challenge for behavioral health services in the community health center setting. We cannot solve the behavioral health issues of the communities we serve. We must work with Pawnee Mental Health. We make a lot of referrals. They do really fantastic work, but we have there's a need for us to provide the services as well for our patients. And we do it with the model that while you're here, getting your body taken care of, get your mind taken care of too. Integrated, it's all part of reducing that stigma and making it easy to access services. So their goals for that statewide work group are to develop a shared plan for strengthening and expanding the provision of integrated behavioral health for primary care providers in Kansas. And they want to identify and advocate for policy changes and payment reforms that will enable us to sustain our services. It's a challenge to break even with behavioral health so that you can just keep the service going. And so we're excited to see what that work group is able to come up with. Greg Hennon, he's the CEO of a county mental health center that serves Chautauqua, Cowley, Elk, and Montgomery and Wilson County, as well as a few other CEOs from community mental health centers are on that work group as well. So as they are able to make some changes, we'll bring back the progress that could really impact what we're able to do with behavioral health services in Manhattan. If you remember correctly, the last time we were here, we let you know that we are adding medication-assisted treatment to the services that we're able to provide in our Raleigh County clinic. And we're also adding telehealth equipment so that patients can access psychiatry services from the Junction City facility while they're in Manhattan. So we reduce those transportation barriers. It's not far, but if you don't have a car, it's a real barrier. So more to follow on the uptake of those services in our Manhattan clinic. Our providers are excited. We have a data waiver provider on site in Manhattan, which means she's able to prescribe medication-assisted treatment for opioid use disorder, as well as several providers in the Junction City office. And it seems to be a real perk as we recruit and try to bring in new physicians and providers to the area. They're interested. There's a lot of momentum just across the nation with MAT right now, trying to combat the opioid epidemic. And so we're excited about where that program's going and how it can improve lives. We've seen lives change. Folks that couldn't get a job before, they're now able to sustain and have a job. They look different. They're healthier. They're able to provide for their families and stay in the home and become contributing members of our community. So we're excited about where that's going. Do you have any questions for us? It's a super short update today. I apologize.
Just kind of curious on that topic you talked about, because we hear about the opioid problem.
Mm-hmm.
Of those that you're in contact with, about how many do you think what percentage are you successful with?
It's just getting up and going. We haven't had anybody pushed out of our program, or like for non-compliance, we haven't had to remove anybody from the program. And so everybody that's in it continues to be in it to varying degrees of success. Our nurse case manager and our medical director have provided us some fascinating, like really good stories, two in particular of patients that just their whole lives have been turned around. The medical director told a story. She kind of rattled it off in a meeting the other day like it was nonchalant, but it just made my jaw drop open, about a patient that came in for tooth pain. And while she was there, they were able to somehow identify that she had a problem with pain medication. She happened to be in withdrawal. We were able to get her over to and do the induction that day. Was her only day off work. She was able to get connected to family planning services, as well as getting her tooth pain resolved. And she started buprenorphine medication-assisted treatment for opioid use disorder, and she's still in that program. And she's doing fantastic. And so, you show up to get your tooth fixed and they care for the whole patient. And our medical director said it like it was nothing. And I think Lee looked at me and I looked at him and we were like, that's it. That's what we want people to do when they see patients walk through our door, is to see the whole person. And so I don't have a statistic for you, but I know that the number of those who have dropped out or we've had to remove from the program is 0%, which I think is
That's great.
significant.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Commissioners, 9:15, you have David Adams. Morning, David.
Good morning. How's everybody?
Good.
Pretty good. I don't know anything about your calendar in front of you.
That's good. Nice tell.
Okay.
Were you accused, falsely accused Julie Winter, Public Works?
Oh, wrong, Julie.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That's what my investigation has revealed.
He's been hitting around at other people too.
Everybody's a suspect.
Yeah, absolutely. Except for me, I had a halo.
So yeah, you're excluded.
I did witness the crime.
And since he didn't do anything to stop the crime, does that make him an accessory?
Well, he's a cooperating witness. You gotta do it.
Oh, it's getting deep. I'm gonna take it right here.
Trying to get some fresh air.
It's too hot in this room.
Didn't see anything bad. I just said hi. From Julie.
Very disruptive. Correct.
It does have to correct. You're only off by about 4 months. I think we're back here this afternoon, aren't we, for interviews?
Hit the ground running on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
How's Sam doing? Good. Good.
When'd you get back in town?
1 a.m. Saturday morning.
So you slept before you started replying to emails.
Slept before I started. The night before I had slept.
Okay.
Because that morning I was climbing down off of 11,600 feet. So.
Right.
You were out in Colorado.
Going down's easier than going up,
Oh,
but
yeah.
after you've been hiking for a week in it with weight on your back, the old legs are feeling it even going down.
Oh, yeah.
You're using different muscles to control your descent. So,
Well, but I'd been going up and down all week, but the legs were just like noodles, you know,
right.
Sometimes it's harder to go down.
especially when you're going up.
It is.
Well, that's when more injuries
Really
happen.
gets you right.
Is going
gets
down
right
because
in here.
people get lazy and not paying attention because going down's easier, but
Right. Well, you're tired. You've been up there for a week.
whew, yeah. Went up carrying 72 pounds.
How much did you carry down?
Oh, it was
That's food.
Well,
50 probably.
Oh, so you didn't pack any meat out?
No. No, because that would have been multiple trips.
Right.
That would have been multiple trips.
Right.
It was brutal.
You see plenty of games.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, it's pretty brutal. Good test.
Absolutely.
I can pass a stress test, I can guarantee you.
Pass the stress test.
A physical stress test. Guaranteed.
Now, the hard part, coming down, a lot of times, like if it rains, that's a challenge and rocks.
Slippery rocks and such, yep.
Used to hike a lot.
John, what was the score of the game the week before? You remember?
31-23.
31-23. Clancy, you had won that one. Clancy's
First two, yeah.
2-1 between Clancy and Catherine.
See, you're not knowing what you're doing.
At least he's honest.
Pretty relaxed.
You don't overthink it.
This one is coming up, it's gonna be a challenge.
And gets TV games. I hate ESPN Plus.
Paid for it, so yes.
I'm going to through football season, and that's probably gonna be it.
This week, third game.
I think Oklahoma's on Fox or something, and then I
Oh,
think
yeah,
the rest of them
they'll
are
always put Oklahoma on.
Mhm.
Oklahoma, Texas.
Depending on the records at the time, I didn't get a prime spot. That one.
Yeah.
Take it a game at a time.
I was surprised Nebraska stayed as close as they did.
Yeah.
I think
Oklahoma
Oklahoma's
doesn't look that
overrated.
good. They
Well,
just,
their defense is never good.
but even their offense just. Quarterback, to me, is a little overhyped.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. I'm usually the last one, but-
Oklahoma's not my favorite.
You almost said that with a straight face.
Almost.
That's what you know about it, but the billboard coming in from out my direction
I saw that.
and all the games, and it has someone put a green X over the OU game. On the big
Nice.
billboard.
Kind of like the KU billboard out there on I-70. Why don't they just put something medical on there and everybody's leaving it alone now?
Yeah, I noticed that. Somebody,
Next out Oklahoma.
pretty quick after it happened, somebody just put a big X over the OU.
Notice somebody was quick to go out there and change it either.
You may even know the guy that might have done it.
True. That would explain a lot.
Won't be sad to see them go. That's for sure.
I've never been an OU fan.
Me neither, but I liked having them because I really enjoyed beating them when they did.
Yeah.
It goes all the way back to basketball back in the late 80s. I was never a fan of that.
Was it when he was their coach?
Billy Tubbs.
Billy Tubbs.
Yeah,
He was
that's
obnoxious.
where it started.
Well, we have the best fans in the league, that's for sure.
So we had to take us too far behind the Wilson's bench that first year at Ramwich. He was coach, and their players turned around and started making rude comments because they were beating us. Their players were turning around making comments to the fans and everything. And Tubbs looked down, didn't stop him at all. He was, because the fans were yelling at him. They started responding, turning around, making gestures and stuff to the fans.
Only game I seen it at Hearn was against Oklahoma in '88, second to last game there. We won by like 4. Nothing quite similar.
Morning, Commissioners. David Adams, EMS Ambulance Director with my monthly update, and then we'll have a personnel request after that. So starting off, August was another Busy month to be the second busiest month in the history of our department, with 465 calls for service, with 27 in North County, which is probably the highest. I mean, I haven't gone back and been able to track that for years, but that's a really high number for up north, which kind of correlates. When we're busier, we're gonna be busier everywhere, so it kind of just ties in. Breaking down by stations, the percentage or the breakdown of the 4 stations stayed the same. But one, I did notice a couple of trends. We'll talk about it more here in a few minutes. But Station 1, which is our main headquarters station, had 151 calls. Station 2 here at the fire station had 149, and that's a lot closer than that typically is. Usually there's about a 20 call difference or so, but really statistically they were the same percentage. And then the public works station, and then the airport. And then we had 6 other calls that were, that number doesn't come up to the 465, and that's because we had 5 standbys in the month, and then one of the supervisors ran a call and did a patient refusal for one of the crews. So they must have had multiple patients. So the supervisor took one of those calls off for him to help the crew kind of get caught up. So I said still extremely busy. We're still seeing 1 to 2 potential COVID calls a day. The last couple of weeks, it's dropped off. We're down to, my feeling is that we're back down to about our normal call volume the last couple of weeks. So with the K-State game this last couple of weeks notwithstanding. So crews are still wearing masks when they're in mixed company. Haven't changed any of that, and it probably won't for a little while. With the number of active cases being at 140, 150 continually, we're going to stay in masks when we can. So, and I don't see us getting away from having masks on when we're with patients for quite some time. So I think that's just going to be standard for certainly through the end of the year, probably into well into next year as well. So we have submitted all the necessary policies to HR for review with the third party per their request. So that's been done. We're still reviewing the rest of them, but got all that turned in. As I mentioned, standby season, high school football, middle school. We do the Raleigh County Middle School football games, cross country, K-State football. The first football game, we saw 12 patients, and then 3 of those were transported. This last Saturday, I don't have the final numbers, but my guess it's up about 30 patients. We transported 2 or 3 of those as well.
Heat?
Yeah, mainly heat. There's always a little alcohol mixed in there, but mainly heat. And one of the things we noticed, I worked one of the first aid rooms with our staff, and one of the things we noticed is some of the older people who are on high blood pressure medication, those medications, they regulate the heart rate. So it helps keep the blood pressure down. When you're dehydrated, your body wants to compensate by raising your heart rate. Medication does not allow that. So we were seeing, people who were pretty dehydrated with a heart rate of 60. The medications work and it's regulating the heart rate, but it's causing them to become dehydrated faster. They can't cool their bodies like it's designed to do. So we saw at one point in our first aid room, we had 5 patients in there. All 5 of them were on the same beta blocker.
Oh,
Yes. So we said, we're seeing a trend here because you, and you are all take the same medication for the same problem. So, but crew did fantastic. They worked their rear ends off. They were busy. Really, the calls started picking up about midway through the first quarter, and we were steady through the start of the fourth quarter. So they worked really hard. I'm really proud of them. They were coming and going, and everybody was pitching in and doing what they needed to do. And I enjoyed being down there working with the crews. We had one of our young supervisors up in the command post. And so I went down and helped out the crews. And I enjoyed that. I think they enjoyed seeing me down there sweating right along with them. But they did very, very well. But we knew it was going to be busy. Always is. Those first 2 games are always busy. And this one certainly was no exception. So John Ellerman and I attended the Station Design Conference in St. Louis late last month. It was very good. We came, they had different tracks. So they had a track for engineers, and, then they had a track for chiefs and things like that. So he did the engineer track, I did the chiefs track. We came away just blown away with information. Got to meet a lot of architects that build stations. We met the architect firm that helped with Anderson Knight here in town with Fire Station 3 and 5, because they had them predominantly, their pictures predominant up there. So, okay, well, so we learned a lot. We really did. So John and I had our first meeting. So we're scheduling, we have a standing scheduled meeting every Friday. So we had our first meeting last Friday, went over the RFQ. I think he's going to make some tweaks to it, but I expect it'll be coming before you here pretty quick. So, but I appreciated his input, and he was very engaged and brought a lot to the table. So I appreciated that. Education-wise, we've hosted 2 classes for County Fire Department number 1 with their volunteers. Alex has worked with their deputy chiefs and with Russell, and it sounds like those are going well. They have one more scheduled. They've done, I believe they were evening classes, and they're going to do a Saturday one. So, but I think there's been really good turnout, and he's been happy with how it's going and the work with this group. So. We are hosting an advanced medical life support class this week, Thursday, Friday. We've got multiple of our staff involved, but part of that collaboration we have with Fort Riley is they have 8 personnel attending that class as well. So, so I think they're all their physician assistants. So, so we're excited about that. And I know Alex is getting ready to go over to see their sim lab and they'll figure out how we can gain access into the fort relatively easy, so we can start using their simulation lab. So that collaboration is going well. I'm really happy with it. Community outreach, we continue to participate in some small PR events. I know we did one again last week. So, and then we have a few more scheduled here and there as things kind of open back up. We're still trying to be kind of selective, not trying to put our crews into small spaces with a big group of people where they have to take off their masks and talk and such. So still trying to be a little selective with that. But, and then last, the car seat check lanes are back up and running. That's a big plus for our community. Different departments have assigned days. So we have the second Tuesday of every month. So we have our CPS technicians there to help with car seats. So really excited to see that back up and going, because that's a big need really in any community, and ours is no different. As I've said before, when you're installing a car seat, it's not simple. And I stopped and I'm not a technician by any means. I haven't been through all of the training, but I stopped and helped a couple in the parking lot here a couple weeks ago on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon, because they were reading the instructions and they were trying to figure it out. You're going, and God bless you, because it's hard, to do it right. So, but really excited about that. So I think we're looking to find a couple more people of our staff to do it, because we usually just take a truck and make them last out and do it on duty if we can. But I think we're down to just 2 or 3 people. So we're looking for going to solicit some more help from our staff so we can get some people through that 40-hour training. Any questions about any of that?
Yeah, about how many car seat checks do you do? Do you have numbers on that?
It varies. This last Tuesday they did 1, but we'll get a call once a week from usually from the police department or the hospital, saying, hey, we have somebody they're gonna be discharged, but they need a car seat installed. So any day of the week we get those phone calls. So okay. So they'll reach out to either the fire department or us, and we coordinate that. If we have somebody on duty, we'll go have them do it. If not, we'll call the police department, see if they have somebody on duty who can do it. If not, then the fire department or vice versa. So, I don't think it'd be out of the realm to say we probably do 2 a week.
Okay. Good. And do you have car seats available for people that can't afford them?
We do. Josh works that.
Okay.
He gets a really good grant from the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation. And he keeps them stocked. And the check lanes are at Manhattan Fire Headquarters. And so the car seat people have a closet there. And he keeps car seats stocked in there for whoever uses them. And I think he keeps some spares at in the FCRC, so if they start running low. But yeah, the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation really is the one who supports that, and they do a fantastic job, and they give us the resources that we need.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so breaking down of calls. Again, here's just those runs, as I mentioned earlier. Really no statistical difference between Station 1 and Station 2, which is a little odd. But what thing that I noticed here in our breakdown of the week, we saw an increased percentage of, I believe it was, Monday was up 8% over the previous few months, and Saturday and Sunday were down 4%, 5% respectively. So what that translated to me is we're seeing more of a sicker population in the community. So not as much in Aggieville or some of those different areas where people get hurt, whether it's not necessarily Aggieville, but just people are out and about and they get hurt more. But we spoke Monday, Tuesday, and even into Wednesday, we were running more calls. And that almost always translates into just a sicker community. So, sir?
Scooter incidents.
And we don't see that many. We see a few. We had somebody who ran into a light pole here, but I don't know what they were doing, if they were taking selfies or what they were doing, or turning around and joking with their friends. But we don't see as many as you might expect.
Sometimes those light poles move.
Right. We see a lot of bike accidents. They're trying to weave around people. They're on the sidewalks. They try to weave around them. They hit a hole in the grass, or
just driving in the middle of the street.
Or they just jump right out to the street and get hit by a car because they didn't look over their shoulder. We see those just as common.
That's what I saw a motorcycle do the other day. 2 lanes of traffic stoplight, and he's going down in between them to get in front of people.
Oh yeah. They'll go in between them. They'll go around the right and just try to hug that curb. Oh yeah. It's so, but I just thought this was interesting that we saw more calls during those days, quite a few more, and we just saw, like I said, more sicker people. So, and then, so that translated here into breakdown of our calls during the day, during the evening, with just higher call volume starting about, really it was about 8 o'clock. So we were just busier throughout the day than we were any other times. So daytime people, we always expect a little bit of a bump on Monday because people have been sick all weekend. And then, just not getting over it and things like that. But that translated throughout the day for those first 2-3 days of the week. So, any questions on that? Okay. Did we want to talk about the position request? Okay, so we have an open EMT position caused by a recent resignation. We have reached out to our PRN staff. We do have one who is interested, but they're in school. And I got their schedule this morning about 8 o'clock. Josh and I need to sit down and look through it. I don't know if we're going to fill it with that PRN person, just because their school schedule, they're 2 or 3 days a week. They're going to need to be off for school. And that creates hardship on our staff trying to cover this little time here, 5 hours on a Monday afternoon to, 5 hours on a Wednesday evening type of thing. But we do ask that we can solicit some outside interest. But we're getting, we probably have half a dozen people who are interested in either a full-time position or PRNs that have applied. So I think there's some opportunity there. you know, the impact if we don't fill it is then, you know, we've reduced our PRN ranks over the last couple of months, as you're well aware. That's going to put more overtime with our staff. And, you know, the overtime's bad enough, but then you add all the standbys we have going on and our staff get worn out, you know. Just like the K-State game, that's a 13-person standby. And I think we filled it with 9 full-time staff. So some of them worked the day before, they got off shift, took a shower, went and had some breakfast, then they're there till 6 o'clock in the evening, and then they're back the next, or, you know, then they get to go home and gone for a day and a half. Or some of them worked that game, went home, and got up and had to work the next day. So it puts a lot of strain on our staff. And then we had a soccer game on Sunday that we had to cover as well. So what I'm asking is to allow us to open this position up externally as well, if we so choose, and solicit with some of the people that we've already got. We've already got it out externally, so.
Yeah, I'd move to approve filling the EMT position with either internal or external candidates.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on a position request for a full-time EMT in the EMS department. All those in favor?
Aye.
All 3 sign, please.
Anything else?
I don't think so, David. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Have a good week.
Well, see you here. in a couple hours.
Question there.
Yes, sir.
Oh, does the general public know you have those, drive-through lanes and have their
They put it out on social media, and you know, we try to talk about it here. I try to talk about it here as much as I can. You know, the hospital is aware, because that's part of when somebody gets you know, discharged with a newborn, that they have to. That's part of what the hospital has to do, is to make sure that they have a car seat, it's installed correctly. But you know, we try to, and we, you know, between EMS, the fire department, police department, the health department, all those different agencies, we try to get that worked out.
Well, I knew nothing about it, of course, I'm a grandparent.
Sure.
I
Sure.
didn't know anything.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So we try to put it out there and keep people informed and such, but yeah, it's always a challenge.
Is that on our website?
I believe so, but I'll double check. It used to be, but I'll double check. I mean, that's a valid question.
And the same thing is true for people whose children grow up, get older, and then they have to get new ones, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah,
That's still,
absolutely,
okay,
absolutely.
that's a great service.
Thanks, David.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Commissioners, we don't have any press conference items. We do have Bob Isaac up next at 10 o'clock. See a little bit of a break.
My grandparent had to sit in his car seats.
Oh, yeah.
My son's a fireman. He did it for me because I couldn't. Yeah, that's
That held his arm out.
right. But even our kids, at least it was just a basic car seat. Now they got so many straps on them. Like,
Yeah, I don't have any grandchildren, so I'm worried about it, but yeah, it would be
It's-
something.
yeah. Figuring out how to get hooked in and how to get the kid hooked in.
Oh, yeah, getting it out of there too, and when they're screaming is easy, is not an easy job.
Yeah.
How did we ever grow up?
Yeah.
General protection we have.
I don't know, we bounced around the back seat all the time, or laid up in the back window,
Yeah, like
or
that.
that was fun.
Feet on the dash.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't think we weren't quite as fast, maybe, I don't know. Because I was brought up in the country, so, you know, Nobody wore seatbelts, and they weren't even in the cars. I guess we were, I don't know, we used to go pretty fast on the highway, but not too many people got hurt.
We were always going too fast.
Yeah.
My dad was always smart about that. Us kids, we didn't have a car that would run the speed limit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I had a little clunker that wouldn't go too fast, but I had friends that had really fast cars. That was fun.
Yeah. They had cars with a lot better vehicles than the tires that put on.
Well, the cars then were built better too. They're like tanks.
Yeah.
My dad was a Hudson dealer, if you've ever seen the Hudson. They were like big tanks, but
Balls, 10 o'clock.
I knew it was right. I'm not losing yet.
You probably heard what he said.
And my attorney's on vacation. My other attorney is in Turkey. You understand what I mean?
I know exactly. Think that's it.
Well, we talked about this, you, me, and Billy. Up at the house. Or either she said, "So, I don't know." I just want to make sure that. There's no offense, but I just want to make sure that's in paper. This is what I wrote about me. If I think it is, but we don't have to. Have these things. No, that's my concern. I see, it's no big deal. You see, here, I don't give up.
It's good, why? Both of the short, the secretary. Totally speaking.
That's no big deal. But everything else I can write.
Surveys, always look for these.
Yeah. No, I didn't pay attention to it, I just looked at it. It's. See, I don't have to sign it. What's the name of those? Or more. Get two. The next thing was really. That's not. Back to the last one. That's the big stuff. 1, 2. That's my life. Well, they should not all have to. Everybody does. That's been hassle. Hassle, that's our stuff. Take this long. Joe, you'll get those. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yes. That's true. Yeah, that's true. It's the first time we're all, this year, but it's all first. Commission for something else. Yeah.
That's, you know, another shit you did. Well, I don't. It wasn't there.
She got that, nobody else did.
Right.
What? Decided. Real well. Read it.
Yeah,
It's a lot more than what I heard.
yes, yeah. That's what I said.
I'll say, I didn't ask them. Let's try this and see if it's. Oh.
Yeah, it's literacy and else.
Toast.
I know what she told me not to call.
Discuss it in the meeting. Let's try it, see if it works. A lot more willing than I ever thought.
Don't fight your votes, but there's a vote. Stop by here yesterday, there you go.
Notice it.
That's it. Don't you? Don't you?
So. Water though.
They stopped by, give me he owed me $100. Dollars. Oh, so we get the beach or something. It's kind of late. Yeah. Much money into the food program, 20,000. Wish you guys luck. But you can work. Hey. Cool. That's what I heard. So I knew it was. Thinking myself. He didn't die yet.
No, I guess not. Phew.
It was a woman's voice, so I think sounded like.
I'm not rolling that. Next year. Sure, yeah, I know you'd be in there getting.
With Bob, he's usually here by now. Thank you.
It's always early.
Yeah. Time or two he has. Aha, speak of the devil.
Uh-huh. There it is. John, are you going to the law board meeting today? Guess we'll have to speed up there. Huh?
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Which comments we had?
Yeah. The budget takes precedence, so for late, we're late. That's how
Yeah.
it works.
That's right.
Our budget passing is kind of important to that
Oh,
organization.
yeah.
They're interested in it.
They have a,
You can make a phone call, let them know that we're running late.
they have a vested interest.
Yes.
Sorry, we couldn't approve it because we had to be here.
Because we had to be here. Try again next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't go well.
We'll get you lights and sirens escort.
I've been there before, but for other.
You don't get escorted when you're in the back seat, John. That's
No,
not an
that's not the
escort.
same. That's not what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. I'll let that one slip, didn't I? Radio interview this afternoon with where the radio station is, KCO.
Clay Center? Yeah.
Center.
KCO one, is that what it is? Yeah.
And the Farm Bureau tomorrow night.
Good.
That will be 2%. Look at my schedule. Yes.
Bye, Bob.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Okay, on behalf of Dean and Cook LC, Stan Cook has made application with the Raleigh County Planning and Development Department requesting approval for a residential use designator for a reconversion lot for an unplatted tract of land and to plat that tract into a single lot. The purpose of the reconversion lot is to address certain situations where there may be individuals who have purchased a 20-acre or larger tract for the purpose of establishing a non-agricultural home site who may need or desire a small acreage. This option allows these individuals to easily transfer the unwanted acreage to an agricultural producer for the purpose of reestablishing and or maintaining an agricultural use. The residential use designator allows a small lot to be subdivided from a larger lot for the property to retain or sell. It's not exactly what the intent was for a reconversion lot, but essentially it serves the same purpose. Remainder of the tract may then be sold for agricultural use or retain the agricultural use. So the subject site is generally located approximately 850 feet north of the intersection of Molman Road and Preworth Road on the east side of Molman Road. The subject site is approximately 2.59 acre portion of a larger, approximately 53 acre parent tract. The applicant is requesting to receive a residential use designator for reconversion lot for that portion of the parent tract occupied by the existing single family residence. A small portion of that tract along the north boundary of the parent tract needed quit claimed to the applicant due to resolve a real property line fence line issue. And that's this area right here. And it's also indicated on the plat. The subject site, along with the rest of the parent tract and all neighboring property, zoned AG agricultural district shown here in gray. There are no special uses, variances, or conditional uses associated with the site. Raleigh County Fire District number 1 will continue to serve the site. The nearest county fire station is the Hunters Island Fire Station, located at 1314 Collins Lane. The site is located within 5 road miles of the fire station. The property is located within a designated growth area, and that's the Manhattan urban area. And that is as per the Vision 2025 Comprehensive Plan for Raleigh County. But it is also located outside of the Manhattan urban service area. Excuse me. It was recommended by staff that, excuse me, due to the property being entirely or located entirely within the 1% annual chance floodplain shown in the red hatch pattern. A residential use designator be utilized rather than rezoning the property to a residential district. That way, additional residential growth at this location will be discouraged. Excuse me. Further, as per the Manhattan urban area subdivision regulations, the remainder of the parent tract will remain in agricultural use and therefore be exempt from the platting requirements. So it's just that small portion of the larger parent tract. What we have here are the specific criteria for approving a residential use designator for a reconversion lot. They are listed in section 8 of the Raleigh County zoning regulations. There are 5 standards that must be met for approval. And the Manhattan Urban Area Planning Board found that this request is consistent with these standards. This is the preliminary plat showing the proposed lot, existing home, and outbuildings. This plat map also shows the slope of the subject site. The subject site is currently served by an on-site septic tank, lateral system, and rural water. It was recommended that a portion of the field south of the home be included in the lot's boundaries to serve as a potential alternative location for a septic system replacement. That's what you see in this area here. The subject site has direct access to Molman Road, a paved 2-lane local road maintained by the county. No additional points of ingress, egress are being proposed with this request. And here, this line here shows where the abandoned old river channel is. And this is where the extent of a fence line was here. And it was thought that maybe that fence line would be the property line. It was later found that the tract north of the parent tract that the subject site is on the south boundary line was described as this line here. So in order to round that up, this is the part that needed to be quitclaimed in order to make this work out. That is right there, the final plat establishing a lot, net acres of 2.13. The request was also reviewed with the 2015 Manhattan Urban Area Comprehensive Plan. It is within their planning study area. Subject site is located within the southwest planning area specifically. Note that the future land use map of the plan projects this property to be agricultural with special flood hazard area and does not encourage additional residential development at that location. Staff believes the request is in general conformance with the comprehensive plan. Few shots of the property. This one is looking directly east from the proposed south property line of the proposed lot. And that's that field we're talking about as our alternate location, just in case. That may or may not happen for another 15 years, hopefully. Turning to my left, this pic shows the loop driveway that serves the home. And this is the home and kind of in amongst the trees. See there. Another shot, this shows the driveway and the home on the heavily wooded lot. And finally, looking east at the existing homestead. Again, the home has been established at this location for approximately 7 years, and the proposed lot will take the least amount of land possible out of agricultural production. On September 9th, the Manhattan Urban Area Planning Board heard the request. Having no concerns, the planning board approved the request for a residential use designator for a reconversion lot and approved the concurrent plat of the Callahan Ranch subdivision. Staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners acknowledge the approved final plat of Callahan Ranch subdivision, accepting any easements, rights of way, or licenses as shown to be dedicated on the final plat. That's all I have. It's fairly straightforward. If you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer those.
Yeah, Bob, I have a question, of course. On the 1% floodplain, you know, how is that, could that affect this property, and do they need to get flood insurance, that type of thing?
You pretty much just answered your own question.
Oh.
Yeah, they will have to get flood insurance. The other thing it does, it affects the placement of septic systems, tanks, and things like that. And other thing you want to be above base flood elevation.
Right, so those have been addressed,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Again, this is existing development, nothing new on it, so, but they are subject to have been.
Have been, okay.
Yeah, so.
Else? No. Okay. Motion.
Move to approve the resolution acknowledging approval of the final plat of Callahan Ranch subdivision and accept easements right away licenses shown to be dedicated on the final plat.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on the motion acknowledging the approved final plat of the Callahan Ranch subdivision and accepting easements, right of ways, or licenses shown to be dedicated on the final plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All three sign 2 resolutions, please.
Probably Mylar, that's
Correct.
Yeah. All their sign. So it.
I was paying attention.
Thanks, guys, for coming in.
Thanks.
We should get the Mylar out there.
Sure.
Thank you.
Give us a second here, Clancy, and we'll be ready for you.
Where? Get around.
Okay, well, good. Good to see you another time.
Is that the only one?
Yes, thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, Clancy. Oh, sorry.
Morning, Commissioners. Morning. Just want to update you with a few things that are not on the project list, some additional material that I didn't manage to get on before submitting it. So first item, the countywide emergency radio communication system upgrade, continuing to work towards discussions. I'm still having discussions with the contract administrator for the vendor. Rapidly closing out that first phase of the project. It's over with. We need to put some additional things in place, which we'll do in terms of agreements. I am going to be contacting the attorney for the Historic Sites Review Board just to check on status of listing for that property. On the next item, county jail unit medical care, there's a staff discussion that's been rescheduled for this Wednesday. Working on discussing the provisions for coming agreement on that. It's provided next medical care. Going down to constitutional protection of county home rule. The podcast, as I mentioned last week, was recorded with KAC on September 10th. There's going to be dark score podcast. Planning on this Friday. Get that done. Again, those are both designed to be a toolbox for KAC membership on those two issues. Jumping down to the annual legislative conference, we have that scheduled now. It will be on Thursday, November 4th, and just about the entire delegation, as I understand it, has said that they're available that day. It will be live, obviously. We will have lunch and serve. We'll be back to the original format. Yeah, much more so than we did last year.
Trying to remember, we did that kind of on the fly in December.
We did. It was in December. It was very much on the fly.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a kind of a hybrid
Yeah.
situation. This will be live. And it's interesting because we got last Friday, there was a meeting of the Governor's Tax Council. And that included discussions about county, impact to counties on state action. They all used information that had been prepared by our treasurer, appraiser, register of deeds to show the dramatic impact the state what are perceived to be at the time minor changes in state law, the kind of impact, long-term impact they have of county budgets. I wasn't able to listen in and some other matters going on and give attention, but the more we do that, the better. The more we have for the dollars, and the more we convince, in my view, the more we convince other counties to do the same thing that those offices here are doing. It won't be a matter of just saying, hey, this is unfair. It'll be able to remind them, this is what happened last time we tweaked this with a minor change. If you're concerned about property taxes, honestly concerned about it at the state level, you can't simply remove every source of revenue that counties have to carry out their state mandates. It doesn't work that way. At least doesn't work that way well. And jumping down to the American Rescue Plan, of course, we've got ongoing discussions with a potential consultant. And hopefully that will move forward this week, potentially. The same consultant that was used by the county assisting the staff committee with the CARES fund distributions. Nearing an end on that. And then regarding, of course, county employee, they still intermittent work on some issues around that, including keynote speaker, working with Elizabeth Ward on human resource management for the most part, and with the employee day committee as well. Rapidly approaching that date, October 11th. So, if you have questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Can you tell me, we're talking about engaging a consultant, what the cost of that will be and what it was in the past and what it looks
Sure.
like going forward?
I don't recall what it was in the past. I don't know if that somebody here does.
It was approved for like over 100,000. We ended up paying them just over 30. So it's not like they sign a contract to say up to and exceed. They only charge us for the services they rendered. It was
Hourly rates.
They were allowed-
yeah,
they were
but
allowed
I
to
mean,
do
the
5%.
original contract was up to
Yeah.
well over 100,000. We ended up paying them just over 30.
Over 30.
It was, they were allowed to do up to 5% of whatever the total amount was. So that was kind of what it was, but they didn't have to, and they didn't. So we were able to use those funds.
And you will hear across the state, there are some communities, especially smaller communities, that had like a community group give gathering, give recommendations. I can tell you that's probably not the best way to proceed, because if you make an error on this, it negates you from receiving any federal grant funds in the future if you make a mistake. So we felt it was, and the commissioners felt it was money well spent to hire an outside consultant to give guidance on that.
And this particular consultant has been working with this since day one. They understand disaster relief funds just in general, FEMA, Department of Homeland Security, all those kind of work through those. And they're also the consultant for the state.
Sedgwick County was the
Okay.
first Kansas county to contract with, and we were the second. And then after it got well on its way, the state of Kansas contracted with Widow Bryant's.
Yeah.
They're very well respected nationally.
And they've been good to work with as we discuss terms of the upcoming engagement. So
Okay, so we're probably gonna be at the same like 5% level or?
I don't know, there's not a percentage that I recall, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think they're just gonna probably take in whatever it is that just requires to do their time for the things that they need to do. For us and probably similar counties, we just don't have, one, the actual personnel, and two, the expertise within the personnel to work on this alone. And that's one of the reasons why we did that last year, because we had such a tight time frame. Yeah.
There's no time.
Well, it's
So basically, they're just gonna make sure we're doing according to what the federal requirements, make sure we stay within the lines,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
correct.
And that's how they're a valuable resource for the staff committee, is bringing you back these recommendations, because we can be confident that they're required to tell us, okay, does this distribution, how are you seeing other communities use these, are they making similar distributions? What are the arguments against it? What are the arguments for it? They were very helpful. And we expect the same thing here. And here there's going to be, since it's infrastructure, going to be some more long-lasting projects, I suspect. And we want to make sure that all, as Rich said, all those federal requirements, both statutory and administrative, are met in those contracts. Because we don't want to the technical term for what Rich described, but the right thing to say is it not allow future funding. It's called debarment or suspension. You don't want to be in that boat, because then you really undermine the county's ability to get access to those funds in the future for various projects, from the health department, public works, everything. So it's a powerful incentive to be correct. Somebody's, and to know when something is maybe the county staff is throwing out, there's an idea, and being told, no, that's pretty fringe, that is not working, or it didn't work in this community. Or we're not approving that because of this particular federal regulation. It's very helpful.
Well, no, and knowing early on, like I said, before we go through the whole project and the team, we go, oh, wait a minute, we can't do that back us.
That would be a bad time to find
Yeah.
out. Yes.
Now, we've given approval to projects under that, tentatively anyway. How will they review those two? It was Fairmont Park and Keats Sewer.
Well,
Will they be reviewing that to make sure that we're in compliance?
yes, they will. Staff will be asking that.
Okay.
Because that's something.
And things like that are very clearly in there. Water and sewer infrastructure was specifically outlined from the very beginning. I think they had 5 areas, and some of them are abundantly clear, but there are others that aren't abundantly clear. And we throw everything out to them. But I mean, as far as one at Fairmont, we've already spent the money. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it could come back and say no, and then would have to pay it out of general and put the money back. We could do a transfer like that. But some of those things, it's very clear that they qualify.
Okay.
And with this interim rule and the way that they're developing it, their process could change along the way. It could be one set of rules and they could decide something else on the fly.
It was still on interim. We're not on final
No.
rules yet, right?
No.
That's my understanding. Yeah,
Correct.
they're still called interim, which means.
I don't expect that anytime soon, because a lot of these deadlines go out as late as 2024 at this point in time. So I mean, unlike last year, it was all done very quickly. This one here is going to be spread over the course of time, so it could change. They'll help us, guide us through that if and when that happens. So.
The Budget and Planning Committee is the group that recommended the commissioners if we go through that process, and it was very beneficial for the community.
There was members of the community that weren't happy about that, but as I think we went through the process, that conversation kind of went away.
Well, and they initially heard the potential for an excess of 100,000, which was still very minor if it had gone to that amount, and they charged us just over 30 some.
And the key is that we met regular staff whenever it was necessary to review projects, to have questions. Sometimes it was tough to get them on a given date just because they're so busy with so many different communities. But in the end, they were available, and it was just very productive.
Maybe Zoom call with the commission and staff too. So, I'm not concerned about that.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Next, commissioners, 10:45, you have the 2022 Raleigh County R&R hearing.
Will she be providing handouts?
They're in the packet.
They're in your
Yeah.
packet.
Oh.
Yeah.
I had some copies, but they're kind of tattered. Oh, there we are. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
We haven't got to the budget session yet, and Sam's already asleep on us over there.
He's just conserving energy.
Yeah,
Conserving
ready to
energy.
spring into action. Exactly. Just thinking to myself, that's not a good sign.
That's good. There's no excitement.
No, maybe that's true too.
I have a neighbor that has no muffler on his car. So same thing.
This offense, defense, the state just keeps rotating, you know. He's got a bunch of guys getting a lot of time, which helps in the long run. The fourth, which, you know, they keep, at fourth quarter, they're still going strong.
I
Where
really kind of becoming a fan of this 3-3-5 that they're running. And you gotta remember, they played a lot of different people, a lot of different positions last year on the defense.
I wasn't at first, but seems to be working.
Really haven't played the up-tempo type yet,
Yeah.
Oklahoma State's fast, so we'll get a really good indication if that works. But I think the line's legit.
Didn't like seeing Cleve Duke go down.
Who didn't either.
Have we heard the
I haven't
prognosis
heard
on
yet.
that?
I haven't heard it yet.
That's critical infrastructure in there.
Yes.
At Green, he's a beast.
I see him in the gym, he's stout.
I don't know how big he is, but he's just always there and hits hard when he gets there. And so, same with McPherson, he's like a missile.
Yeah, reminds me a lot of Jared Cooper back in the day. It's a really nice man.
Josh Buell, he'd fly around. He was undersized, but flew around.
This momentum and roll with the early conference.
Yeah, I hope so.
Howard looked a whole lot better.
Huh?
I said Howard, he looked a whole lot better, he looked really comfortable.
But our first three conference games are supposed to be pretty strong teams.
I'm not completely sold there, but I'm not with our starter either, so.
Undervalued a couple of the teams there too, West Virginia in particular.
They were
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rich.
You can, have 10%. On all three of them. First round, second round. Yeah. Okay. Okay. If you would please print off another 100 of those sales tax fire pages that you did for John before and get to him because he's got a couple of presentations next couple of days. Thank you. Bye.
And she's got the way to do it front and back, so.
Oh, yeah, sure are. Yeah, yours, this over here is, just asking time you guys need any of that stuff. Ours is a lot faster.
So these presentation, like, do they have a thing where you can do the screen somewhere? Where you wherever you do this.
It's gonna be a mixed bag. I've got a hard copy of the slides.
Yeah.
And I can do something similar just without the visual. Some of them will be Zoom, some of them will have technological abilities. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got to check.
Yeah, if you go north, that's gonna be maybe a little more difficult technological sense, but.
Oh, I see. When we built the city hall, with that screen.
Okay, yeah.
in there.
You guys did a really nice job on that.
Yeah, that's where the elections. Randolph.
Yeah, the Good Morning Manhattan, that's the first time I've done Zoom, shared screen and all that, so it's just kind of on the fly, because I was thinking about it the day before, oh crap. What I would suggest is pull the sales tax presentation, from the W drive and get a shortcut, because you won't be able to access it, off the network.
Okay.
It's gotta be on our.
Well, why don't you do me a favor and send that memo to IT to get with him to do that? That way they'll understand what he needs.
Okay.
So that I can,
Yeah, if you put a shortcut of that presentation on your desktop, you can pull it up from anywhere. But if you leave it on the drive, you can only access it through the network. So if you try to access it at home or from a different location.
So they'll put a shortcut on, so you just double click on an icon that pops up.
Yeah.
IT can put a shortcut, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I didn't know if we had to get a memory.
Flash drive.
flash
You
drive or
do that
something.
too, but I just put it up on the computer, that's what I did.
And
See,
then you can pull
Yeah.
it from there.
Yeah. I can't even pull it up off the Wi-Fi, off the network. So I can use our Wi-Fi someplace, and that might be something to think about too.
And there's certain places like Keats where it doesn't work well, because that's one of our polling places, and we struggle at Keats to get connection.
Well, again, I printed out, I got the printed out version.
Yeah.
And we have had trouble at Randolph before too on elections with Wi-Fi connections. And
Yeah, that was the other issue of the day. Oh, crap, I can't pull this up. Yeah, that's IT. You just sort of, just ask Tyler when he comes down. We can pull it up for you from there.
telling John the baby of the family's 21 today.
Oh, my.
So much of a baby anymore, though.
She called me during the meeting. I called her on the phone. She went and got her new ID.
Luckily first, she got in, get it done.
Got in early. She said it only took like 15 minutes, and that's in Shawnee. You know, because she's going
They
to
had
work
some
for her.
problems over there.
She said people were really nice. She had a lot of compliments about them.
It'd be a demo we've done to have separate offsite.
I know they do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Couple.
See, my baby's 37. Aiden, the grandkids, the youngest one's 8 or 9 now.
Gotcha. That'll be my next step. Give it like 2 years.
Luckily, we're out of car seats.
There you are, John.
Pain by the car seats for grandkids.
Thank you.
You can just give that to John also, Cindy, and they can pass it on down. Thank you.
Thanks.
Youngest is 21, oldest is 27.
See, from September, it's 9 months. Oh, this is 9 months older than him.
These are just kind of sitting back on the back. I got a stack of them already, I think we'll put tomorrow, just make sure that we have them.
Oh, yeah, sure. Always better to be prepared.
Yes, yes.
Look a little scruffy there, Rich.
Trying to catch up with you and Clancy
Someday.
someday.
Remember who said that? But as he was walking away, as he was saying that too.
It was close enough and I was halfway there, so I just left it by the time I got back.
It's good to be that time of year. I usually just, when I'm on vacation, I just let it go.
My wife's unique in that regard. She prefers it anyway, so she's the reason I started growing one anyway. Morning, Gary.
Good morning. How you all doing?
Pretty good, how are you?
Very patriotic thought.
Thank you.
The one budget heckler, wouldn't you know it, Gary Fike.
There's always one.
Oh, we got 5 minutes. Here comes John, he's one too.
Yeah, he was here earlier. He's here for protection reasons.
I know how these work. It's last minute if you don't show up.
Very wise.
The problem is, the biggest budget was.
That's another reason why you're here. Anytime you share, talk to that.
He's not wrong, that's for sure. Usually you're done with this in what, late July. Remember right?
Yeah, correct.
So you're in the initial thing, kind of pushed it out. Right.
Good morning.
Start with the numbers, right?
Morning, Russell.
Morning.
Right.
Some popped out finally again, huh? No rain.
Unfortunately. I say a chance for rain this evening.
There's that cold front that's coming in, that's supposed to finally
Praying.
bring the temperature down.
Keep praying.
Yeah, no, I'll take upper 70s, early 80s right now.
Or 50s.
Might get down to 47 tomorrow.
Night, yeah, I'll take it.
That's air conditioning.
I will take
Finally,
it.
yeah.
We'll have our windows open for sure.
Electric's been expensive this year.
So last month, I didn't notice so much until last month.
Yeah, electric bill's kind of like, whoa.
You have an all electric place.
No, I got gas too, but gas is funny.
Gas is like nothing. It's in there.
Okay, it is 10:45 and looks like we have a couple of budget hearings this morning to get through the rest of the 2022 budget. So I'll go ahead and open this first one up, which is the new revenue neutral rate hearing for Riley County, and I'll let you start off, Tammy, and then I'll open up for public comment.
Okay, so on August 5th, 2021, the commissioners approved the 2022 proposed budget and instructed me to go ahead and get that put into the state form, submit it to our accountants for review. We did that, we received it back. And so after that date on September 2nd, 2021, you approved it to be published. It was published in the newspaper on September 9th, which is 10 days prior to today's hearing, which is what we're required to follow. And that was published in the Manhattan Mercury, which is considered our local newspaper. So with that, I do have our legal counselor here to make sure that we're following the new statute. We don't miss anything. We do have the revenue neutral rate hearing. And once you let people make their public comments, then we would need to make a vote to consider exceeding the revenue neutral rate. And if it is approved, then we would adopt the resolution to exceed that revenue neutral rate. And this is just for Riley County because we do have a separate rate for the fire district. Just so you're aware of the fiscal impact for the 2022 mill levy, our proposed is 42.285. This is a flat levy from the 2021 adopted budget. Remember that there is an adjustment in November when the clerk gets the final valuation numbers. So it's not even without, we're actually lower than that number, but we are level with what the actual adopted budget was in 2021.
And some of the factors for that slightly over half a mill levy to the revenue neutral rate is the 4% increase to our CPD.
Yes.
And I don't remember what the number was, Tammy, of estimated revenue that we will not be able to capture because of this rate next year. I want to say it was 600,000, but it doesn't seem right to equal a 0.5 to me. So.
It is close to a mill. It is close to that, but I do believe it is under that.
Okay, okay. Just keep in mind. Okay. So I will go ahead then and open it up for public comment. If anybody from the public or elsewise has anything to say. With the format that we have to do, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Correct.
You want to leave it open, so,
So when?
till
11 o'clock till the next one starts.
Probably 15:01, 13 available.
If that's too much. Yeah, someone who's trying to get down here for this, wants to comment. It's just about the suspended charge to make sure that this is.
So we actually have to wait till 11 o'clock to vote on this and then open the other one?
That's what I'd recommend. Make sure that you're in compliance with what they're giving us.
Well, in the meantime, if there's any other discussion, I guess we can do that at the same time. Sure, okay. So. Any commissioners, staff want to chime in?
I feel that we were very, very prudent in developing this budget, and to try to stay under the revenue neutral rate is without cutting services is next to impossible in my opinion. So I feel like we did a really good job as staff to try to find cuts as well as we could. And so I think it's a very prudent budget.
Appreciate that. Well, it's interesting, at least from here, because usually we're down, as I mentioned, with this process in mid to late July. And so, this kind of pushes it out. I don't know if it's better or worse from that perspective. I guess the process is ultimately the same. It just takes a little bit more time to get done and through it. I don't know if other local units of government are struggling with that part. I feel like with this, there's going to have to be several adjustments in this process that are made moving forward. And then, next year starts the process of sending out actual notices. So I didn't expect there to be a large crowd because maybe still nobody really knows the process or understands the process. So who pays for that will be interesting to see.
I think you should state there the process, but the taxpayer should know the process costs the taxpayers more money.
Right.
That's mandated by the counties and cities to do.
And it doesn't matter who's really paying that, whether that's the state or the local unit of government itself, still coming out of a budget somewhere that's
Still coming out of local taxpayers' pockets, whether it's state taxes or local taxes.
correct.
Yeah.
So just a couple of things to note in that process. So
Yeah, John, what were you saying earlier about next year's budget? We have to, something about $400,000 we were just talking about.
that's just money that we know through construction and other things that will come online in property tax. But this rate doesn't allow us to capture that next year, so we can't include that as an estimate or anything within next year's budget.
Doesn't allow you to capture any new value from the previous year, because if you do, then you automatically raise it above your last year's. That's a fault in the system of one of many, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be some adjustment with that. There's just gonna have to be. And the loss of other, mortgage fees and continuing things that the states are taking away to, and dogs still has quite an impact on that as we get into 2022 potentially too. So.
And it's interesting to note how the cities and counties struggle with revenue, but what's the current estimate on where the state sits on revenue?
I don't think that was really in that tax committee discussion. I don't think that was conveniently discussed very, very well. It all seems like it's a local government problem. And look, the reality is local governments sometimes go outside their own pity sometimes too. It's not perfect, but if the state wants us to keep a constraints and restricted budget, then it only seems appropriate that they do too. And 4 to 6 to 8% increase every year there doesn't do anybody any good either.
One thing that has helped as far as costs in the 2021 year is with those CARES funds, some of the eligible costs were capturing salaries that were budgeted, but they were frontline workers. So we did that, which allowed us to have those dollars for now when we have other costs that we couldn't anticipate. So we have those dollars earmarked and we're holding them and we're using them and continue to use them towards COVID costs. Right now, we've spent about $800,000 since the beginning of the year, and additional COVID costs. Which if, we didn't have those CARES funds, we would have had to tap into our budget in some way and cut something else.
We've had quite a bit of turnover. With the turnover comes the experience, so some of those positions and things weren't at that same level, so we've saved a little bit of personnel costs along the way there too. Ideal from a fiscal perspective, but maybe not from a experience and service perspective. And you can look at that either way, I suppose, but yeah.
So Clancy, just want to clarify for the board's sake, so at least two of them know, because at least with other public hearings, we haven't left it open the entire time. Are you suggesting the last public hearing stays open from 11:15 to 12?
Under these new rules, I think that'd be the same thing.
Because we've never done any other public hearing that way, is my question, and I've read the statutes too. It doesn't say the full duration anywhere.
No, it doesn't, but why put yourself susceptible to that charge?
Well, the regular public hearing we don't.
Well, that's my point. Every other public hearing, we allow for public comment. If there's no public comment, you close it regardless of it's through the entirety. And so I'm fine with it. It's just those two need to know because they have another meeting to get
I
to.
understand. My advice is that.
Well, and we probably should have on this agenda put a closing time for the 11:15.
That's my point. We've never done that on any other public hearing, and I've been through 1,000 public hearings since I've been here. When you've allowed public comment and there's none, you don't allow, if your next agenda item's an hour, a full hour of potential public comment.
I was gonna leave the two revenue neutral rates that way and then go through the regular public hearing the way that we typically do, and that's.
That's the problem I saw coming.
Okay. Because we've got a law board meeting at 12 and it's not down at City Hall.
And regardless of the revenue neutral rate public hearing being new, the budget public hearing is not new.
No.
And they've always been done that way.
I understand.
So in the future, when we do this, we need to put an ending date on the last one. Is that,
I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary on the last one because we're gonna actually make an actual vote on the entire budget that way.
Because I think the problem with also, if you put an ending time on when we have a larger time, what if it goes beyond that? You know?
well, if we had a whole room full of people, this one could be extended to the one we put a time on.
Yeah, if somebody shows up at 11:15 and it goes past 12 based off of that, it goes past 12 based off of that.
I mean, there's a
Close
reason.
off anybody's opportunity to speak.
The
See what
reason,
I'm saying?
and the reason why, and honestly, in the publication, people don't know that it's 15 minutes. We publish the date and time that it begins. We don't put through what time period, so they don't know what time period they have to get here. It's, if you want to participate, you're here at 11, you're here at 11:15. It's all new, but for this meeting, you guys need to know to go to your next meeting. On the last one anyway.
Yeah. And technically, this is the other part of it is they're coming in to talk about the budget at 11 o'clock, revenue neutral or not, we're still really discussing the budget in general anyway, making public comments.
Right. Yeah, it can be overall.
And since this process is new, I'll let it go through the time that we've allotted or last one. Close it off. We're gonna vote now.
That's where my feelings.
Okay.
Or usually the advice.
Any comments from anybody else?
Well, I would like to commend the staff and the department heads for working on the budget so diligently, trying to keep us at a at a lower, a level that we could work with on the revenue neutral, because I know that was tough. And, moving forward, so I would commend the employees, staff for that.
Second that. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm hopeful and pretty optimistic that from a revenue perspective, things are gonna improve over the next couple of years. I don't want to say we hit rock bottom, but just kind of have a level of stagnation that's a little different, even pre-pandemic to a certain extent. I see a lot of movement forward, so doesn't mean that we capture all of them and do whatever we want. We still need to be frugal and practical, but I think our means are going to be a little bit more than they've been.
See.
And at the end of the day, that's all we can do is just see.
Oh, market's going.
Yeah. It'd be nice if inflation would come down a little bit. Some of our other factors, but some of those things are truly out of our control. Okay, so we have reached 11 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and close off public comment on the first revenue neutral hearing. And then I guess we need to move to a vote. Right.
I move to approve and adopt the resolution to exceed revenue neutral rate. Property tax rate for Raleigh County for the tax year 2022.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on the 2022 Raleigh County revenue neutral rate. All those in favor?
Aye.
All three times, please.
Okay, so that closes off the first revenue neutral rate hearing, and I will go ahead and open up the second revenue neutral rate hearing for Raleigh County Fire District.
So this one has the same background information because the notice for these hearings are published all as one, so there's no new background information to present with the Raleigh County Fire District number one's R&R hearing. The only thing to note with them is that their proposed 2022 mill levy is 8.153, which is an increase of 0.526 from the 2021 adopted budget. With that, I would just like to mention we have 3 new fire districts Tuttle Creek, Ogden, Leonardville, with 2 more coming on board. We have purchased radios for the fire district. All of those are debt items, so they are paying more in debt to cover all of these services for our citizens. Russell is here, and I don't know if he wants to add anything to that as well.
Treated fire stations much.
Oh, fire
Yeah.
stations, I'm sorry. Apologize for that. Stations, yes, not districts. Anything else that you would want to add with your?
I guess just trying to update trucks,
Right.
you know, the several trucks 50 years old.
So that is where the majority of this increase is coming from, is those items.
Once again, takes money to provide these type of critical services, and infrastructure and equipment is definitely part of that, so. Okay, well then I'll go ahead and open this hearing up for public comment. Right from the public. I guess I did check to see if possibly there'd be somebody on Zoom that was already.
I've been watching that anyway.
This one will follow that same process. Once you close it, then you'll vote on it and consider adopting the resolution. We can move on to the open public hearing.
I just have just a general question about the process, that how this process would look next year. The actual notice that's gonna be mailed to the individual taxpayers will include each of the hearing dates for the entities, is that correct?
More likely, I mean, we don't know that right now it's time to discuss how we're gonna do it exactly, but I think something like that,
Just
yeah.
curious as to.
And it's gonna have to clearly say, because that's our concern, is people confuse that that's gonna be a tax bill, so we'll have prominently on there, you know, not a tax bill, but yeah, I would envision something like that, but.
Yeah, and then, I'm just wondering if that's gonna bring more people, because that's what, just as the treasurer, we hear the comments once the tax statements actually go out the door and they land on people's mailboxes, so.
Yeah, that's my fear, is people are gonna get confused with the tax statements, and
That is my fear as well.
we'll have it prominently on there anyway. The budget and planning committee will be integral in that process, which Shiloh and Tammy are a part of, but there's several examples out there. Problem is, the examples look a lot like a tax bill,
Yeah.
but we'll have in bold red or bold yellow or something. This is not a tax bill.
Colored.
Usually with a
Some
tax
sort.
bill, you have some kind of tear off receipt that shows the amount.
Yeah, it won't have a tear off receipt.
Right, that's what I'm saying, but maybe that will squash some of it, but yeah, you're gonna confuse a lot of people, that's just the way it works.
That's been my fear from the very beginning on this. Plus
But my
the
curiosity.
additional costs.
Right, but my curiosity too is that the notice of the hearing in addition to being in the paper? Is that all?
Yeah, I believe that's part of it.
Okay.
I think that's supposed to be at the top of it. I
So
believe.
each of the entities would have had to be ready for that notification to have their hearing, is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
That's gonna be the hard part. For sure.
When I did.
It's a cumbersome process.
Yeah. School districts are exempt,
I don't believe
No.
so.
so if they go over, so.
Yeah, no one's exempt.
The first version, I think.
That's probably
the final version.
Okay, that's right.
Has been
The only ones that are exempt are is the 1.5 mils that go to the state, is that correct? Okay,
Correct. Imagine that.
that was not, it was just for clarification.
Imagine that.
No, it's a good clarification for obvious reasons.
You're correct. The state did exempt themselves.
Because even, to correct me if I'm wrong, but the 20 mils that go to the school district for the general fund they have to hold the hearing, but it's not going to, they're allowed to exceed it, right? Because they're not gonna lower the, below the 20 mils.
Oh,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why, I want to make sure I have the correct.
And I've been kind of waiting to
understanding
see if somebody actually would do that, just out of curiosity's sake. I'm not worried about it did.
Right. I just want to make sure I
Yeah.
understood
Yeah.
the logistics.
They can't go above, but they can go lower, correct?
No, I think the 20 mils
No.
is set in statute, correct?
Can't go-
Yeah.
Like they can't change that. But they still have to go through the process, I
Correct.
believe.
Does that process have to happen here, or does that happen at one of their meetings? I guess that's theirs, okay.
And of course, staying at the 20 years, generally, they're always gonna go over the previous years. If the value is gonna be more.
Correct.
That's all assuming the legislature doesn't make any changes over there, so.
I'll be curious to see what they do,
It will be.
that's for sure. I've heard rumblings,
I had to.
I'm sure they'll make it easier,
always
right?
like this did so much this year.
And read state UTR.
Yeah,
It's, JEC guys were at the King conference last week. The side discussion about this. They were talking about some, I think, cemetery districts. The mail sort of costs more than the.
Yeah.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
We're not transparent.
And that's probably gonna be the case for a handful of the smaller county townships too. Break it down the road, maybe not too much in Raleigh County, but. There's
Well, it has an impact, because those
37 counties
townships,
that have that.
those townships run very frugal budgets, and they are very cognizant of their expenditures.
Yeah.
Our legislative conference, we have to remind our legislators to make it a priority to approve appropriations for these mailings.
Mhm. What is your estimated cost on that?
Oh, I had it at one time, it was,
You said like 62,000 because of the change in.
I was thinking 48.5. 18,500 was the estimation for the mailing, 30,000 for context. The context a one-time
For the
thing.
one time, yeah.
So that is the software, is that?
Yeah, context or software vendor.
Okay.
For the programming to.
You're right. Mhm. Yeah, for them to change their program, the people hours it takes them to do that.
Of course, it'll be going into next year, so that cost probably won't be 30,000, it'll probably be 35.
Yeah. That was the estimate they gave us, so.
Because we're basically going to be sending out tax statements twice.
Yeah.
For the.
So you can probably expect more traffic in your office right after we send those out. People wondering what the heck they are.
Oh, sure. And the phone ringing off.
Or checks in the mail for the amount listed.
Mhm.
Unintended
That
consequences.
won't cost more staff time.
You know, we should keep track of that, the extra staff time that's taken on this. And we're down to the last minute. I know, right?
This one if you want.
Okay. Yeah, we got
That
that.
out in a bit. Okay, it is 11:15. I'm going to go ahead and close off the public comment section of the public hearing on the fire district. For the discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve and adopt the resolution to exceed the revenue neutral rate on its property tax levy for Raleigh County Fire District Number 1 for the tax year 2022.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on a resolution to go above the revenue neutral rate for Raleigh County Fire District Number 1 for the 2022 fiscal budget. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All three times, please.
Okay.
One more hearing. We're done signing.
Well, work, maybe done with the budget.
Yes.
Busy.
It seems like they've got 2 or 3 months off.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds about right, yeah. We'll start that again, what, late February, early March.
Yeah, that's the bad thing about it. Just drags it on to where your gaps.
Maybe next year won't be so late, huh?
Don't count on it.
Depends on what they
Fix and we'll see what we can do to move it up on our end. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. We'll know about May or June what they change.
Next year's a midterm year for your department too, so.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun.
What's that?
Midterms.
Who knows if we'll have redistricting done by that time?
Let's jump into that one first. You got any more numbers yet?
There's always plenty of work.
I heard something about maybe mid-October-ish, mid to late October. Okay, and with that concludes the 2022 Raleigh County Fire District R&R hearing. Go ahead and open up the regular Raleigh County budget public hearing now.
With that, just a couple things to point out. Again, the notice was published in the paper on September 9th, which meets our 10 days prior to the actual hearing. And you've already been discussing what our impact was for what we have it at in both Riley County and the fire district in comparison to last year's. A couple of things just to mention on that you'll be approving as well that are specifically listed are the appropriations to these different agencies. And then on the actual budget hearing, there are 4 funds within Riley County that have the ad valorem tax dollars that come through the general fund, the bond and interest, county building, and RCPD. You can see the bond and interest did not require any ad valorem tax dollars for the 2022 budget year. You can see that RCPD did have an increase, and county building had a very small increase, and the general fund actually decreased from what the rate was in 2021. And then on the second page for our special districts, we've already discussed the fire district. In addition to that, we do have benefit districts. A few of those levy funds as well. All of those remained flat, and so there were no hearings that were required for those. The cemetery are separate, and if any hearings were required, they held them outside this. They had to have those done prior to your hearing so that we could approve this overall.
That's what we have to wait, because they all have to have theirs done.
Right, if there's any that, yeah. So are there any questions on the budget application or any additional discussion?
Fun process, huh?
It's an odd idea of fun, John.
Other things to do.
I think in terms of your thing, it's obviously the most important thing I
It
do
is.
in a given year, so it is what it is, but I would actually second Shiloh's earlier comments of I think we really went through there and it was frugal and practical with everything, given the dynamics and the variables that we're kind of faced with currently as we possibly could, while not taking care of personnel. That would be the other thing I would add to that. And being able to maintain quality and professional services throughout Raleigh County. So you have to keep that technically flat this year, and there was a slight decrease last year. Then to do that back-to-back years is tough. It gives our community, our region a chance to kind of hopefully knock off the dust from this pandemic and move forward. And as I mentioned a little while ago, I'm very optimistic about how some things are going to proceed as long as we're careful and we're focused. So, and I think at least from our perspective, we are just that. So. Has anything else?
I think on these appropriations, the note on the HEA bus, 120,000 compared to 30,000 last year, we're catching up. So
No, they had extra federal funds last year, so they took those and gave that back to us with the intent that we would return that back to them this year.
Okay.
So that was kind of something that we worked out last year, and of course, I didn't want to say no to that.
Right.
After we kind of promised that and did us a favor last year, so we need to return that one back. But we can always, when we go through next year's budget cycle, we can always look one by one or however.
And they are getting some more grants and that type of thing this year.
Correct.
So they're always looking for that. So,
And it's got to be careful for them because they do have to have a certain amount of local funds to kind of match some of those and vice versa too. So it's always kind of tricky with them. So I'm kind of okay with what we did there on the outside agencies this year. We didn't add anything else. Kept everything flat with the exception of that. But that was kind of a verbal deal that we had made last year, so that was only fair. So.
The other thing to point out is the Riley County General Economic Development. That is not specifically earmarked and it will not go anywhere without you approving that.
Yeah.
So.
and I think with this new advisory board that we have, potential that we will be spending more through the county.
Just developing strategic plan, if not per year, at least over the course of time. That'd be my thought. One more questions, comments? Okay, well then what I'm gonna do is go ahead and open it up for public comment at this point in time. If there's anybody from the general public that has anything to say, now's the time. I'm not gonna wait till 12 o'clock on this one, so. I also feel like we've given everybody 2 other opportunities to discuss the budget, so, yeah, so. I don't see anybody else from the public here, so I'm gonna go ahead and close the public comment side of the budget hearing for this one time, and look for a resolution that will get us through.
And this is actually the certificate that you'll sign. You don't have to do a resolution for this one.
I move to approve and sign the 2022 Raleigh County Budget Certificate as published in the amount of $81,348,651, and a special district fund certificate totaling $2,288,817.
Do we need to approve the appropriations?
No,
Yes.
just this whole
Okay,
thing
just
overall
this whole
includes
thing.
everything.
That's our
Well,
overall.
We usually do approve that separately.
Separate motion for that.
Is there a motion in here on that for
There
that?
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Move to approve. So do we do one at a time then?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
you approve the agency appropriations as listed. It's all in that motion there.
It's in the whole motion, okay. So add that to it.
That's included, Greg?
Yes.
Okay.
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 Just want to be sure we're all on the same page. We're doing it in one motion.
All
Yep,
right.
proceed, second, need a
Okay,
second.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and approved to sign the 2022 Raleigh County Budget Certificate as published in the amount of $81,348,651, and the Special District Fund Certificate totaling $2,288,817. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioners, three of them, all 3 of you, please. Sign on the line that say governing body, doesn't have your name. Fine.
Thank you, commissioners. We'll get
Yeah.
the budget wrapped up and I'll be getting you your copies for the 2022 year.
Sounds good.
Thanks to everyone for the work. Thank you, Tammy, for your work. Budget and Planning Committee.
We are kind of on a time frame here, and it's gonna take 20 minutes to get out to the litigation. Do we have any other items of business this morning?
I don't have anything else.
Nope. Okay. Sign then, we'll be adjourned. Three.
3. You.
Got a motion on the table to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on adjournment of the September 20th, we're almost done with the month already, September 20th, 2021 meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.